Okay, that's 6 o'clock, 1:30 my time. Okay, so let's get started. Thank you all for joining in today. Today is our season 2, episode number 8 for SCCM, and this is free SCCM training provided by How to Manage Devices community. As you can see on the slide, this week we have two SCCM sessions, today and tomorrow, same time, same place, right? Don't ask for the meeting invite. It's the same meeting invite for every week, right? And if you log into the Teams channel, probably you would get the meeting invite as well, right? Okay, so these are the two sessions available for season 2, and these are the probably last two sessions of season 2, and then we will start the season 3 after a small break, probably a couple of weeks break, and then we will start the season 3, right? So these are the two episodes or sessions of season 2. Okay, and let me talk about how to manage devices community now. Okay, so this is our small like core members of the community, and I'm here to add a couple of other members into this. The pictures are not there, right? So if you want to know more about us, you can go to any of these websites over here on the right hand side, right? And you can check out, right? So we have like more than, I don't know, more than nine, no, I think 9 SCCM WhatsApp groups and one Telegram group, and we have Facebook group, and we are everywhere, right? Almost everywhere, right? We are there in Instagram as well. So if you like to follow us, please follow us so that you will get updated about the next season and when it is starting, and what are the agenda, etc., right? So that's that's a it's kind of all about the community now for now. Okay, and this is all about our forum, right? We started the forum, I think couple of months back now. This is hdmdforum.com. If you have any questions related to SCCM Intune, please feel free to ask over here, right? So that would be kind of useful for the global community, right? Rather than asking it in Telegram or somewhere else, right? Or Twitter or Facebook. Probably searching in Twitter or Facebook is bit of difficult, even in WhatsApp or Telegram groups. So that is why we kind of started this forum, for it would be easy to others to understand your problems and help, right? Okay, so this is the URL for the forum, htmdforum.com. Okay, and we are running something called superheroes, right, of every week. So I think I pulled this list a couple of days back, and this is our top contributors of the forum, right? If you want to be part of this, please log in to register with the forum and log in and try to contribute if you know the answers, right? So we have special badges, and point system is also there, right? So at the moment, this is the overall stats of the forum, right? We have nine four users already registered. Okay, so you can see a lot of users coming in coming weeks, probably, right? Okay, so that's all about the forum, and you know about the community now. We call ourselves as How to Manage Devices community, right? And next is this training season 1, right? In season 1, where we started is basically, sorry, in season 2, right? In season 2, we started building an SCCM infrastructure in Azure, right? So that is where we started. I think I don't remember exactly when we started. It was 3 or 4 weeks back. Okay, so this is what we did. We did Azure subscription. We took an Azure subscription and started the trial version. Okay, and you will get credit of 13,000 Indian rupees. Okay, and this is the lab setup. Actually, we build something like resource groups in Azure. If you don't know what is this resource groups in Azure, virtual networks in Azure, probably you would. I have already shared the link of all recordings in the chat window, right? So you can go to that YouTube recordings and you can see what is this virtual network, how we created it, right? All these are created live, right? So so you can see the live experience of that. These videos are not edited at all, right? Okay, so this is the structure or architecture of the lab which we build, right? So we are using Azure Portal to connect to something called Azure Bastion, and Azure Bastion is helping us to connect to all the SCCM servers which we build in Azure. SCCM servers, domain server, and client, right? So we don't use RDP ports to connect to SCCM servers directly from here, right? We use Azure Bastion and we connect from there. Okay, so that is what we completed in first few weeks. Now the let me share the website, not the website, the lab itself. Give me a sec. If I can find out. Okay. So hopefully you are able to see the screen SCCM console or configuration manager console. Okay. And this is the lab which we set up. And during the last couple of weeks, what we did is we basically completed a lot of stuff in the from a SCCM configuration perspective, right? So after setting up the lab, what we did is we installed SQL, we installed SCCM, and we installed all the components like a management point, distribution point, and we tried to distribute some packages. It failed first. It's all live, right? It failed first and we did retried it. It worked, right? And then we created boundaries. We did I think AD extension, right? We did AD extension and we did publishing of the publishing SCCM information into Active Directory, right? All those configurations we have already completed. We enabled the discovery also. All right. Last week we enabled the discovery, system discovery, if I remember correctly, and we no last to last week it was. I think last week we tried client push and we installed clients, right? So if I have configured Active Directory discovery and boundaries are configured, right? Boundaries are configured, boundary groups are configured, right? Everything is intact at the moment, right? And if you go to um, assets and complaints, if you go to devices, you would be able to see two devices live, right? These are the devices which we installed client yesterday, right? So we have two devices. One is SCCM server itself, other one is Windows 10 device, okay, or Windows 10 client, okay. So that is what we did last week. It was client push installation. We discussed about what are the methods of installing client, right? So basically, first thing is what we did. We installed SCCM, SQL, then SCCM, then configured all the components like MP and DP, which are mandatory, right? To deploy client and all, right? So we did that. Then what we did is we connected SCCM with Active Directory, and then we publish in SCCM information to Active Directory. Okay, after extending the schema, then we discovered devices from Active Directory. Okay, now all the devices in Active Directory is available in SCCM. Now Discovery won't do anything with the management. Now for the management, we need to install SCCM client. That is what we did last weekend, right? So we need SCCM client on each device which we manage. Otherwise, we won't be able to manage, right? So that is why this is server client infrastructure, server client application. SCCM is server and client application, right? So most of the applications are like that. Okay, okay, fine. So in this week, as I mentioned in the notification, this what we did is basically when we configured SCCM server, we left SUP. We didn't configure software update point. So software update point is basically the component which helps us to install or which helps us to deploy patches. Okay, so monthly patches, all those patches, right, which can be deployed with the help of software update component. So in a layman's term, what we can say is it is the connection between WSUS and SCCM, software update point, right? So it is not accurate, right? It is not accurate, but if you want to imagine something simple, right, you can imagine something like that. What is WSUS? I'm sorry, SUP, software update point, right? So we need to install that component. We have not installed it, as you can see over here, right? If you have seen the previous recordings, or if you were part of the previous sessions, probably you might be aware we have already installed the WSUS on this particular server, but we have not configured it, we have not connected it, as you can see over here, right? WSUS is already there, and all the prerequisites are already there. Okay, we are connecting to the SQL database itself, right? SQL database. If I can launch that, I'm launching it. SQL database. I don't think SUS. I think SUS underscore DB. That database is not created yet. So that is it will create only when we complete the post deployment post deployment configuration, right? So this is what we have to do it now. So I think that we left this like this, I think the second week of this season, right? Okay, so let's configure this one. Let's click on that post. This is WSUS configuration. Okay, so I clicked on that one, probably it will pop up. Post installation. Okay. Configuration failed for Windows Server update services at, okay, launch post installation task. Okay, that failed, right? So this is all live, right? I never tried this before. Let's try it. What happens? I mean to say I never tried this before in this particular lab. Okay. So let me see in WSUS. Okay, it's still getting launched. I don't know what happened to my server. Is it okay? Yeah, it's okay. 55% of CPU. Huh, that's interesting. It is not able to find the server name itself. Wow. Let me find out the server name. This is the live session, so it's cool. Right? This is the server name. Okay, let me try to connect. I don't know why this is coming up now, right? It should automatically take the server name. Okay, and it says yeah, there's an update available. Okay, I like it. Thank you for letting me know. So database, we don't have WSUS or WSUS database. Okay, fine. A lot of things are happening. Okay, let me minimize this. If I get the connection back. Okay, now What happened to this then? Give me a sec. Let me relaunch the server manager, and it got launched. And let me click on this, and it says post installation tasks. Let me launch. No, it's not happening. It says failed. What is the reason? Log was created. Okay, log was created. That's fine. Okay, it got failed. Log was created. Where is log? It's temp folder, right? So let me check the temp folder. File temp. temp temp folder, and in the temp folder, let me go to tmp local temp and tmp d2db. Okay, this is the one. Let me open this up. I don't know what are the options available for me. Notepad. Microsoft configuration value not found, usually caused by installing WSUS. Okay, I think. Okay, that's fine. I think. Give me a sec. Let me try to. There's no specific errors, so we are fine. Let me try to. What I'm going to do now is, let me try to remove this role, or we can do one thing. Okay, so for R&D, what we can do is basically we can try to install one role, right? So let's try to install SUP now. Okay, and see what is going to happen. Okay, so select the site server. We don't have site servers, right? We only have one. Okay, so let me select, try to make it easy, right? Add from here rather than doing from there. Same thing, both are same thing. So what we are going to do is we are going to install a SUP now, okay, and trying to see like whether that is trying to get automatic WSUS automatically configured, right? Otherwise, we have a backup plan if that is not going to work, right? Okay, so let's add one site. Okay, it automatically selected the site system server or site server in this case. Normally, if you are installing it on a remote server, SUP is installing it on a remote server, then it is site system server. But if it's a primary server, then it is site server. I have explained about this in the previous videos. What is the difference between site server and site system server? Okay, so I'm going to keep it simple, default ones. If you have some untrusted forest kind of scenario, right? For example, if you want to install SUP on an untrusted forest, probably you might need to use this. Okay, and you need to provide an installation account, etc., and you need to enable this also. Okay, then that will ensure that that system will communicate to the um, require the site server to initiate the connection to the site system. So it's other way around, right? It is always primary server contacting the remote SUP if you have in that kind of a situation. So in our scenario, we are going with the default SUP installation. That is, we are installing the SUP on the primary server itself. Okay, so you know the difference. If you are installing it on a remote site system with an untrusted forest scenario, right? I have seen many of those untrusted forest scenarios in my corporate experience, right? So that is why in that case you need to enable both these two, okay, and you need to provide a account and all, right? So that is for untrusted remote SUB scenario. But for us, it's fine. Active Directory forest, it is fine, right? And proxy, if you want, probably SUB is the candidate for proxy, because we need internet connection to download updates from Microsoft updates or Windows updates, right? And in this case, if you are in a corporate environment, most of the connections are going through proxy, should go through proxy because of security concerns, right? So in that case, you need to enable the proxy option over here, and you need to enter the proxy server name, and you need to enter the proxy server IP. Normally, it would be 8080 or some custom IP, right? And in some scenarios, you might need to provide the account name as well, right? So it depends on your proxy setup. If you are whitelisting your server itself, SCCM server itself, then you don't need this. Otherwise, there should be some service account needed to authenticate with proxy. Okay, so in the scenario, our server has a direct connectivity to internet, so we don't need this. Okay, but in a corporate world, you always should uh, you enable this if you are connecting through a proxy server. Okay, otherwise it will directly hit your firewall, and probably that will block. Firewall might not allow that communication, right? So that is why we need to use the proxy. Okay. So let's the so I'm not talking about the the firewall on the system, right? The firewall on the network side I'm talking about. Okay. So that is about the proxy. Now we need to select the site system. So site system overall over here, we are going to select SUP, right? Software update point. This is the one, software update point. So when you click on SUP, you can see a lot of options came up here, right? So that is that would be interesting, right? So you can see like what is SUP, right? So SUP integrates with WSUS to provide software update to configuration manager. So that is the actual Microsoft definition. So I mentioned before, what is SUP? It's a bridge between SCCM and WSUS. That is my way of understanding things, right? So my I can easily remember it, right? So I don't know. Maybe you can try it in your next interview. Probably they will say, "Oh, what bridge?" Okay. Anyways, uh, okay, fine. Next, is software update point. We selected software update point, and the default is 804443. Right, 80 is for HTTP. So we have configuring as SUP as HTTP, not HTTPS. Right, HTTPS requires all the PKI, PKI certificates and all the things, right? So that is what 443 is. If you are using HTTPS, then your port will be 443. That is the default configuration coming up in over here, right? But we are going to select a different port. That is the best practice as per my understanding. So I always select this one, because port 80 has been used by some so many other stuffs in SCCM, right? Configuration manager management point uses for port 80, uh, and I think this DP uses port 80, right? So I think this is the best option. Better to use the other option which is available in the configuration itself, right? That is 8530, and 8531 is for the HTTPS. That is the PKI one. Okay, and I'm going to leave everything as default. right? Require SSL communication? No, I don't require SSL because that is again PKI, right? We are not going to cover this. Allow configuration manager, cloud management gateway traffic. uh, okay, I'm not going to use that also, right? That is not needed for this setup. Okay, so that is one thing we have configured. That is the basic configuration of WSUS. Okay, and the second thing, client connection type, right? So that is allow intranet only client connections, right? So allow internet only client connections, allow internet and intranet, right? So this is mainly for, I don't know, maybe CMG configurations, right? If you configure the CMG, I don't know the scenarios, probably only for the third party updates it wants to come here. Otherwise all the updates, right, are available from the so the content is available from directly from Microsoft updates. But for the, probably I don't exactly remember what is it used in terms of SUP. Why do we need SUP in that scenario? Okay, but I think a client will be trying to contact the SUP while deploying the patches. If there is no SUP connection, probably it might fail in a CMG scenario, right? Even though the content is coming from the Windows update. Okay, so that is my assumption. Okay, we will see in the future episodes when we configure, or future seasons when we configure cloud management gateway and configure this kind of setup, right? Okay, by for now we are going with the default scenario. So let's clear out our basics first, right? Then we will go into the complex scenarios like CMG and all. Okay, so let's click on next. Now again it is asking for the software update point, proxy servers, okay, and WSUS connection account, right? So this is something sometimes required if you have some for untrusted forest or some other kind of scenarios like that, right? You need to provide the EMP connection account as well as WSU server connection account, right? So this is required in that particular scenario, not in this scenario. If your servers are in a same domain, it can contact the WSU server through the if you have provided proper access, right? It can contact through the Kerberos authentication, right? Systems to system authentication with the system account, I mean to say. Okay, so that is about the server connection account. So this is also we are keeping it as default. But if you are using remote SUP, which server which is in a untrusted forest or something, then probably it is kind of required, right, in many scenarios. Okay, so that is the details about that configuration. Okay, so next, synchronization. So this is an interesting configuration, right? First is default one, all the updates and metadata, right? This is metadata configuration. So all the metadata which you see in console, right? All these are coming from Microsoft update. So initially, every sync it will only download the metadata. It won't download the content of the patches, right? So the only numbers you would be able to see in a number, not numbers, right? The description of each patch will be available in the console. When you right click and say download or deploy, then only the download process will start, right? So we will see what is that. If you don't understand, don't worry about that now, right? So I'm going to select software synchronization from Microsoft Update. Okay, there are many scenarios I have seen people use this one. Okay, so probably because of some security reason, if you are not able to convince security to have um internet facing through proxy, even though it's through proxy, connectivity to this server, then you need to use some server in DMZ or DM zone, right? And your WSUS server will be sitting there, and you will be synchronizing um, the metadata from that particular server. That server, WSUS server, might have direct connectivity to Microsoft Update, right? So that is a typical scenario. I have seen many cases like that. Okay, um, so that is another scenario, right? So another one is, do not synchronize from Microsoft Update or a upstream server. Select this option if you manually synchronize updates on this software update point. Typically, you use manual synchronization when the software update point is disconnected from Microsoft Updates or upstream server, right? I don't know. That there could be many scenarios like this also. I don't know. Maybe if your primary server is in a ship, right, and you don't have a. I have seen the stories like that, or I have heard stories like that, right? Some organization might have like probably 10 or 15 or more than that primary servers, right? And their CAS will be some in corporate office, and their 3 or 4 primary servers will be in a ship, right? And they might not have any connectivity between CAS and primary server during some point of time. Probably, I don't know what is the exact business case for this option, but yeah, there is option. I never tried this, to be honest with you. Okay, so our scenario, we are going to synchronize from directly from Microsoft Update. So for that, we need a proxy or Microsoft Connect internet connectivity from this server, SCCM server itself, right? So that is why I have internet connectivity, and I don't know what happened. I can open internet right from here, and I can browse the sites, right, etc., etc., right? So let me open up. Yeah, this is what we actually completed last time, right? WSUS installation. If you want to know more about how to install WSUS, you can watch previous videos or go through this blog, right? Okay, so let me let me minimize this and click on next. And WSUS reporting is normal. I don't do not create WSUS reporting events. If you are particular about reporting events, you can do that, right? It's as per your requirement. I have never did any changes in this. Uh, I'm not heavily involved in the operations at the moment, but there could be many scenarios which is in use, right? Recently, I have seen something like events should be created when ADR fails, right? Automatic deployment rule fails. So that was a requirement on our one of our forums, right? How to manage devices forum. Okay, there was a question that was pretty interesting for me. Then I kind of looked around it and created a couple of blogs about it. Okay, so the yeah, WSUS reporting events, yeah, that's a good stuff. If you have a requirement, you can report this, right? If the sync is failed or something, probably if you need reporting on that, if you want to alert, probably you can do that. Okay, so that configuration is here, and if I click next, the synchronization settings, right? Enable synchronization settings. Even though this is disabled by default, I have not seen any companies or organizations keeping it disabled, right? It's always enabled, right? Every 7 days, it is a default settings, and I would keep it as it is, right? And if you want, you can create a custom schedule, as you have already seen in this is the same model which you can see in all the other schedules, like discovery schedule. We have seen Azure Active Directory discovery schedule. You can see the only interesting thing is you can do something tricky over here, right? the second Tuesday. Okay, if you want to sync only second Tuesday of every month, yeah, you don't need to specify particular date. Every month it is changing, right? We don't know, like it will come in second week of month, or it will come in third. I don't know. Maybe there are a lot of complexity around that, right? To solve that, Microsoft product team introduced something like this in within Configuration Manager or SCCM. That is pretty interesting, right? Second Tuesday. I don't know whether this is useful for you in this scenario, but obviously this is useful in a kind of what do you call in a ADR scenario, right? Automatic deployment rules. So that scenario, second Tuesday is very much welcome, right? I have seen many discussions about that, and people, I think, a lot of people are, a lot of organizations are using it. Okay, so in this case, it's not very relevant. So I'm going to go with the simple schedule or schedule, right? I get always confused between schedule and schedule, right? Okay, so again, alert when synchronization fails. This is also good. If you want to enable this, you can enable this. That will give us an alert in the console, and probably you can subscribe to that alert, and that if you can configure SMTP, then you will get a mail alert for this, right? So those options, integration options are there, right? So that is about the schedule of synchronization. So this schedule, if you don't understand what is this schedule, this is what exactly is basically our WSUS or SOAP, right? SUP, basically WSUS, right? Is going back to Microsoft and checking with Microsoft Update to confirm whether there is any update for me or not, right? And it will sync. If there is any update, the metadata will get downloaded, and then the new patches will appear in your SCCM console, right? So this is that schedule sync, right? Okay, so this is what that synchronization, right? So this is not nothing else. This is the synchronization between Microsoft updates and your WSUS. Okay, so let's click next. The this option is very interesting. Okay, um, I don't know how many of you use it in your organization. This is supersedence rules, right? This is very much useful in many scenarios. Like if you are using an old, if you have an old infrastructure, for example, in many organizations I have seen they have installed 2012 configuration manager 2012, and they keep on adding patches, and they are not expiring the patches. They are not there is no cleanup, WSUS cleanup. Then there could be a lot of issues like sync timeout on the client end, right? Because there would be a lot of metadata it should go through, the client should go through, and after a point of time it will get tired, right? Not literally tired, I'm just for example I'm saying, right? um, and it will fail on that, right? So that is why the cleanup and these settings are very much important, right? Normally in lab i I use this one: immediately expire the superseded software updates. So both of them, that option, right? Immediate supersedence behavior for feature updates. So feature, I assume you know what is the difference between uh, the normal software updates, the monthly patching, and so feature updates. Feature update is basically Windows 10 updates, like 1903 to 1909 update, or 1909 to 2004 update, right? So that is feature updates. This is the normal monthly patches, right? Okay, so If you want, you can configure it this way: months to wait before supersedence, etc., etc. Right? If you
Anup,
are not speaking, can you please go on mute?
Anup, Karthik, your voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking. Is it only for you or others as well? Yeah.
It is fine right
No,
now.
it's working.
No issues.
No
Okay.
issue.
All right,
Okay.
thanks, and then
Thank
it's
you.
only for me.
Thank you. I myself muted or somebody muted me. I don't remember exactly. Okay. I'm getting old, I think. Okay. Uh, okay. Thank you. It's nice system, right? My microphone is saying like you are muted, unmuted, unmuted, unmuted. Okay. Anyways, it was good. Okay. Uh, so where were we? Supersedence. Okay. Supersedence. Yeah. As I mentioned, you can say, okay, before 3 months, right? This is months. Maybe after 3 months, you can expire it. Maybe um, after 4 months, you can expire it, right? So that is what normally you should do as per your requirement in your organization. So my recommendation would be to analyze this in your organization, check how it is there, how many supersedence packages are, sorry, updates are there, right? And depending on that, probably you can select a number over here, right? So 3 is the best recommended number by default. Microsoft provided, probably they have already looked into the telemetry data of configuration manager, and in most of the scenarios, 3 months is the best number, right? So I think if I want to configure something, right, then my recommendation would be 3 months, right? Because Microsoft states that in the configuration wizard itself, right? So all these tip here is all these configuration default configuration values are not just Microsoft randomly put something. No, it's not like that, right? Microsoft do lot of analysis on all these configuration. They do lot of R&Ds, right, about what is the default configuration which should be available in the console, and what should be the default numbers, right? So there is lot of thought process going on behind these numbers also, right? So if I want to configure something in months, then I would, my first recommendation would be to go with 3 months, right? And if you find something wrong with that in particular in your environment, right, then probably you can come back and change it. Okay. So for the lab, I always keep this immediately expire, right? And immediately expire this also, software feature updates. Okay, just click next. Okay, WSUS maintenance. This is what I already mentioned. This is new stuff, right? I don't know new. When I say new, I think it released a couple of versions back. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, so this is decline expire updates in WSUS. Sorry, um, in WSUS according to supersedence data, right? So depending upon that, the previous schedule, probably you can decline the decline expired updates, right? And add non-clustered indexes to WSUS database. This is pretty good, right? And remove obsolete updates from WSUS. So don't enable all these in your production environment directly. I'm doing it because I'm confident and this is not going to break anything in my lab and in my software update patching process, because there is no process in my lab, right? I don't care, right? But if you if you are having a process in place for patching, and you have an SLA, or if you have an agreement with your client, like, oh, I will keep my the updates for, I don't know, several months, or maybe 9 months, then you need to be careful about all those agreements with client and all, right, before enabling all these configurations, right? So but the best practice is, if you can enable this, better to enable it, right? Okay, but test this in pre-prod or a staging environment before enabling it on production. When I say test, I think you need to spend at least 1 or 2 months checking this out, right? How it is behaving after a monthly patching in pre-prod environment or staging environment, right? Okay, so that is it. I'm going to enable all this in my lab. Okay, and yeah, maximum runtime. This is always kind of useful to go with the default one. If you find any issues, right, basically this is what specify the default maximum amount of time software update installation has to complete. You can override the default setting. So this is the normal thing, right? Maximum runtime for Windows update. Windows update, sorry, Windows feature update. So that is basically your Windows 10 upgrades, right? 1903 to 1909 or 1903 to 2004, etc., etc., right? And this is for Office 365 updates. I think Vimal has some blogs about this. If you find some issues with timeout, and maybe most of the scenarios, it should complete within 2 hours. If it is not completing within 2 hours, then there could be some problem with your update mechanism, or with the client, not with the settings, right? Most of the scenarios I have seen, uh, the updating or increasing this time won't solve your issues. Okay, so you need to be very careful about these. My recommendation, if you ask me, my recommendation would be to keep as it is, right? These are not just numbers, random numbers Microsoft put in, right? So there, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of calculation going beyond this, all these numbers, right? Okay, so I'm going to keep this as it is. Click next. Update files. Download full update files for all approved updates. Yeah, both full updates and approved updates to express. Okay, I'm going to keep this one for now. So select the following option when downloading the update files. Download both files for all approved updates and express installation files for Windows 10. This is also pretty useful. I don't know how many of you are using express updates and all, right? Probably that is useful. I have not done any extensive testing on this part. So if you would like to do that, probably that this is the option which you try to do, which you try to test in pre-prod, right, or staging environment before enabling it on a production. But I'm going to do this now. Okay, and next comes the classifications, right? So classification is always important, right? So you need to remember which classifications you want to enable, right? Security updates or something else you want to do, all the feature updates or something else you want, right? So if you click on this one, right, probably not here, right? Yeah, okay, so this one, right? So you would see a pop-up message over here. This is basically not applicable for us because we are running Windows WinVer 2019, right? We are running latest Windows server, and our WSUS version is also latest. In that scenario, you don't need to install these KB articles or KBs into your WSUS. If you are running older versions of WSUS, probably you need to run this. I think I have covered this in the blog post as well, right? So this is not needed. So in this scenario, I'm not going to enable that, okay, because that I'm not planning to use Windows 10 updates in this lab at the moment, right? At least in this season 2. Okay, so I'm going to go with only soft security updates. Okay, so I'm going to show you something which I have done previously. I don't think I have opened it up over here. How to manage devices. I don't know how many of you have seen this sub blog, and if I check with WSUS, what was that? Classifications or products or classifications? Classifications. Right. Okay, so do not set up SUP with default WSUS product selection, right? So I have seen, I don't know, people, many organizations, right? People don't look into the configurations in details, right? So just enable the default one, and the default one has a lot of um, products automatically selected over here. Windows 7, uh, Internet Explorer, Server 2008, right? Office 2003. All these are default by default selected, right, in the products. So I that is why I kind of created this blog post. Probably it might help someone, okay, while configuring the setup. Okay, so in this scenario, that is coming out on the next page. So this is security updates. I'm going to select security updates only for now, and let's see what is going to happen, because I wanted to reduce the sync time also, right? When we do a sync now in this lab, probably it is going to take another 30 minutes to complete the sync, right? So let's if first of all, if the WSUS configuration is going to be okay after this wizard, right? Okay, so it is, I don't think it is going to work anyways. Okay, uh, so security updates. So we are going to see security updates, and we are going to select products. Now in products, if you see this like this, probably everything is kind of not selected. None of this is not selected. Probably something got changed, right? Recently Microsoft changed something. Let me check this now. Okay, let me go back to the post and see which is the default, which are the default ones. Office XP. Okay, this Office XP. Okay, let me see Office X. Office. Okay, this is good, right? This is good. Now the default selection is not there, right? That is good. Oh, okay, cool. Then let me confirm everything is okay. So this was when, let me check the date of the blog post. So this is March 20. Okay, that was not long back. So okay, latest version is coming up with this one. Cool. So Microsoft is doing great work, right? Getting into the feedback and checking the feedback and removing all the selections, default selections, because that is, if that these products are automatically selected, then it is going to create a lot of problems in your WSUS. It is like we are syncing unwanted data. So like we don't have any Windows XP, Windows 7 devices anymore, right? Unless and until we have a specific requirement and we are running Windows 7 devices. So now none of the products are selected. Default it is empty. Okay, that is cool. uh, Kudos to Microsoft, right? So even Office 365 is not there. That is, we need to enable that. SDK Silverlight is out of support. That should not be there. 2008 numbers are there, but it is not there selected. Okay, cool. So 2007 SCCM 2007 is there, right? virtual PC. That's very old technology. Windows 10 is there. We want to select that. We will select in a minute. And this is great work. Okay, I was not aware of this. Okay, they updated the selection. Okay, cool. Okay, so see, I learned something today. Okay, so click next. So I'm going to select only Windows 10 now, right? From this list, I'm going to select only Windows 10 to make our life easy. Okay, so the only update or only product I want update is for Windows 10. Okay, I don't care about any other product. Probably if you need, you can come back and enable it later, right? So that is what we are going to do now. So if you are trying to install SUP, always make sure you don't select unwanted products, right? As I mentioned in the blog post as well, right? And lucky that in the latest version, probably they have already removed the default selection. Okay, so Windows 10, click next. Classification, we have selected only security updates, and then the products we have selected only Windows 10. So we will only get security updates of Windows 10. Okay, click next. Now this is also interesting, right? Only English is selected by default. This is pretty nice, right? And you don't want, if you don't want other languages updates, then that is fine, right? So I'm going to go with English at the moment, right? And click next. Now it is going to start the process. Now let me open my uh, where is it? Log files, log file, and oh, this is client log. Okay, so CCM, SMS CCM, right? So that is client. Now let me open my server log file over here. So this is program files, configuration manager, log files, logs, SUP setup, right? So here we go. Let me open this in the trace, CM trace. Most probably failed to register. Installation was successful. Okay, that's interesting. Failed to register, but installation was successful. Okay. And let me find out some more details. Command line. Okay. Registration failed. Installing WSUS. Checking supported version. Okay, that's fine. I think we already mentioned about that. This is not required for the version. See, it is checking the version, right? And so always like I get feedback that why you are not mentioning about remote SUP. When you install remote SUP, there is a requirement that we need to install WSUS client, oh sorry, WSUS console on the primary server, right? Otherwise it is not going to work. So I want to make it clear, right? If you are installing a remote SUP on a remote server, then you need to install WSUS console on the primary server. Then only it is going to work. Okay. So don't say I didn't say that. Okay. So let me try to do something over here. And now let's go to the monitoring node over here. Monitoring, and you will see something. Let me find out software update. Okay, software update. Now software update synchronization. It says okay, synchronization status, nothing is there yet, right? It says, let me code HTML change catalog, nothing is there. So nothing has happened. Actually it should not happen. Nothing should not. I have launched it twice or what? Okay. Oh, that is why it didn't come up with the server name initially. Okay. So that was my mistake. I am going to close this. So let me try to refresh. No, nothing has happened because our WSUS is not there. Anyways, it is not going to happen. Nothing is going to happen here. So even though SUP is successful, XUP installation is successful, it is not going to work. Okay, because our WSUS is not working, right? So see, nothing is there. Now let me see, confirm this by going into sync control, right? W6. So this is another file which is kind of used. So SUP, right? SUP setup is the file which you want to log file which you want to check when you have a installation related issue. Okay, now if you have an issue with um, connectivity or sync is not working, so these are the three files, log files which you need to look. Now the first one is WCM, right? And then WSUS control, see this one, right? Control, and the sync log file is this one, WsyncMgr. So these are the log files which you want to kind of note down somewhere when there is any problem with WSUS or SUP connectivity. Then you need to look into all these guys, right? Okay, let me open it up and see a lot of errors probably as expected. For not found, not found. Okay, obviously, because in IAS, if I launch IAS, all these are coming through IAS, right? If I try to log into IAS information, okay, so there won't be any websites created for WSUS over here. In DP and MP installation, we have seen these things got created, right? So in this, our WSUS is failing on us, which was not that was not an expected situation. I was not expecting this to happen, but it happened now. We need to kind of do something about it, right? So it is expected our SUP installation didn't go well, or the connectivity is not there as it says WSUS is all ordered, WSUS is system exception, and you can see Microsoft server WSUS connected to WSUS boolean and you can see over here remote configuration on the server is failed. Okay, that is expected, as I mentioned, right? So let me do one thing, right? Let me go over here and manage, and let me see how to remove WSUS, right? Now let's select the server which you want to remove the WSUS. This is the same server, and let me remove the WSUS over here, right? So this is the WSUS. So I want to remove this. I want to remove. Okay, when I remove that, both the connectivity and also got removed, right? Now, what I normally do to clean up, okay, my recommendation always, right? When you try to remove WSUS, you need to be very careful, right? Probably you might, if you are not very careful, probably you might end up losing your WSUS database as well. It won't directly delete, but that is one of the scenarios. So you need to be very careful about that, right? When you remove the WSUS, etc., right? Don't try to remove the WSUS database. That might create problems, right? Okay. So in normal scenario, what we need to do is we need to uninstall SUP, right? That is the best practice, right? before uninstalling WSUS, always in uninstall SUP, right? But in this scenario, I'm going to take a risk, right? Not installing it, or I'm a bit confused. Probably I will go with the uninstallation, right? Let me uninstall. Don't take a risk. Okay, so that is what uninstallation is doing. So uninstallation. This is SUP. Now SUP should uninstall in a minute or so. I hope I removed SUP only, not the other components. Okay. Okay. So let me see again. This is time 120. Oh, okay. Okay. Deinstallation was successful. Okay. So we have removed SUP now. Okay. Now let me go back to, no, not IAS, the server manager and removal, right? I already kind of removed this check mark. So I launched this from manage, right, over here, and removed, trying to remove WSUS and keeping everything as it is. I don't know, XPS viewer. Okay. SQL connectivity, WSUS services. Okay, fine. Probably it might ask for the restart. Then that's another trouble, right? Okay, so it is trying to restart the WSUS now. I'm sorry, uninstall the WSUS now. It might take some time. So if you want to check something over here, right? What is the problem, and if you are not seeing anything in the configuration manager logs, or even in SCCM logs, then your best friend is event viewer, right? So event viewer, if you try to launch event viewer, you go to applications, probably you would be able to see some events, errors related to WSUS and all, right? See, WSUS failed, a lot of errors are there because of WSUS, right? So you might get a lot of information about WSUS and related configurations also. So this is why I kind of ask people to try to go to event logs also when you have a SCCM related problem. So probably you might know something is failing, some other dependent components are failing. Hmm? Okay, so this is another tip which you want to kind of remember, right? When you have a problem, probably you need to kind of look into event logs and try to find out root cause, or root cause of the issue. Probably that is not because of the SCCM application components. That could be because of Windows core components, right? WMI or WSUS or etc etc, right? IAS or something. Those things are external to SCCM, right? Okay, so removal succeeded on. It didn't ask me to restart. That is a good sign. Probably I'm happy to do that without restart, right? So feature removal succeeded. Remove roles on. Okay, that's fine. Let's remove this alert first. Okay. Anyways, now WSUS is removed here. From here, normally my recommendation would be to restart the server, right? This is my normal recommendation. If you are in a production environment, you don't want to take a chance. Okay, so better to restart the server after cleanup. Okay, and now let's go to roles and add, and next, click next, and same server. Now again go to WSUS over here, right? This is WSUS, Windows Server Update Services. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click add all the dependent services. Click next, right? And I'm going to leave this as it is, features. I don't want any. Now it will say WID. I explained about a WID in the previous videos, right? What is that? Internal database, Windows internal database it is, right? If you don't have a SQL server installed on a remote SUP, then most of the scenarios we are going to use this, right? That is Windows internal database. So there is a database by default available in Windows, right? Windows servers, and probably you can use that, right? If you don't have SQL. Okay, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use SQL and click next. And I think I already created one previously. I don't remember now. Let me go back here. F drive is my data drive, and if I can see WSUS. Okay, so this is the folder which I created, and I already explained all these things in the previous video. I'm not going to explain it. And check the connectivity. I'm going to check the connectivity, and it is trying to connect to SQL server actually. If you are in a remote scenario, probably this might give a lot of issues. I explained about that in the previous video. Probably you can refer to that. Okay, this is local server, so in this case I think that is fine, right? There's no complexity between connectivity of connecting to a remote SQL. Okay, so installing the component now, WSUS again, and fingers crossed now this installation will go well and it won't fail on us, right? Or at least on me. Let me okay. Mm, Let me go to the console and see uh, what is there in the monitoring now. So we removed, and the monitoring thing got removed as well, right? We removed SUP, and in the monitoring software update point synchronization status, that is also removed. There's nothing over there. So this is another checkpoint which you can do apart from the log file over here. This is the log file which we checked for the SUP installation and uninstallation. Okay, so that is done. Now probably we might have done with the installation. Okay, configuration completed successfully. Sorry, configuration installation completed successfully. Configuration required for WSUS. So all these components got installed. Now SQL connectivity. Okay, checking. Now let's click on this one, and fingers crossed. Failed again. Okay, launch. I don't know why it is failing. It is interesting. I should have restarted the server then. Okay, let me go to event logs and find what something is there or not. Event logs. This is time is 126, not related. This is 134. That is not related. That is not related. Let me go to systems, right? Sorry, setup, setup, nothing there. Don't know how anyone seen this error before. If you have seen it, can you please comment on the chat, or you can speak up. Okay, so let's see, nothing there in the network setup. Entered, stopped. Okay, fine. Network setup, installation media. I think it's nothing there related to WSUS at least. Okay. By default, SCCM WSUS service will be disabled mode. Please restart that post installation. Okay. Let me try that. I have not seen that before. It's good thing we are learning. Services.msc, WSUS, Windows. Where is it? Windows update. Windows updates. Update media. WSUS Windows. A B C D F G H I J K L M N O P. No, I can't see the W. Am I missing something over here? Services. WSUS service. Okay. So this is disabled. Okay. So WSUS service. That is WSUS service. I don't know why it is disabled. I never seen this before. Thank you for letting me know. That is interesting. WSUS server is disabled by default. Wow. Wow. Great. Okay. Cool. Uh, I don't know what is the reason for that. Basically. Hmm. Thank you very much. Let me try something now for launch. I don't know what is going to happen now. WSUS service. Now let me try to connect. DB instance. I don't know. DB instance is same. The default one, right? Okay. So what I'm trying to do is basically let me try to cancel this, right? And let me try to cancel this and let me try to disable this again, right? Let me try to disable this and see what is there. What is that, right? I disabled it. Okay. Now this is IAS. No. Now let me try to launch WSUS. Okay. I have disabled. Okay. Now I'm launching WSUS and I'm saying this is my SQL DB. Okay, and I can see the okay run fine. Okay, post installation task is in progress. Please don't close the window. Okay, that's fine. So let me go to services again and try to refresh. It is doing something over here or not? Refresh. It's still disabled. Still disabled. Okay. Disabled. So it should be failing, right? This should fail soon then. I don't know. Let's wait and see. Okay. The R&D is going on. Saturday R&D. Okay. Okay, event logs. Other thing which we can look into is event logs. Rough few new events are available. Let's refresh and see. IAS service entered into a running state, huh? Okay, that's fine. Admin services entered into a running state. Okay, so it is creating IAS or what? Let me refresh this. So over here, there's nothing much here at the moment. Let me refresh IAS and probably we can see WSUS. Okay. See, WSUS came up now. Okay, that's interesting. Even with disabled service, interesting. Now it automatically got enabled and running. Okay, so yeah, So ideally it was my mistake. I should not have um, in enabled it. Okay, so that is probably that is why I never did that before. Okay, and second thing is I should have done this before also, right? Right click and launch this one, right? Rather than doing believing this, right? Okay, so let me check this what has happened over here. Okay, so complete post installation, complete WSUS installation, post installation successfully completed. Click on close button. So we are fine now, right? WSUS configured. And in interesting point over here is we don't have to configure this. This is the SUP's task. SUP will configure it. When we configure SUP, right, this will get automatically configured. These are the things we configure in SUP. I think I have mentioned it somewhere here, right? This is the blog for WSUS configuration. So I think I have mentioned it over here. So if I can go down, yeah, this is the thing which we completed, and it is successful after success. So I never had the service issue right before, and it never failed, right? So this is cancel. We need to cancel this. That is what we are going to do it now. Okay, so we are going to cancel this. Now you can see the console is connected to the database, etc. That is a good sign. Now the SUP and sync should work. Basically, I'm going to close this. I don't know what is this, why it is coming, right? I have seen this for the first time. I never seen this before, right? So that is why it confused me. So always the learning which I had today is always right click and launch this, and that might help you. And you don't need to necessarily enable the service, right? The disable is fine. That the post installation configuration will automatically enable the service. Okay, so good. And we learned that the IAS the website for with different ports came up, right, during the post installation. Now one thing we will see over here is it should have automatically created a database over here. Once you refresh, right, now you can see SUS database over here. Now once you refresh it, see SUSDB, that database got created. Now you would be able to see all the database entries for WSUS over here, right? So this is before configuring SUP. SUP is only for configuring the WSUS, right? But WSUS is doing all the database and all the other work, right? So WSUS database is configured. WSUS IAS site is created on a different port. We used I think 8530, right? Oh, okay, that is for SUP, right? We have not done that. We have deleted that configuration. Now we need to go to SCCM console or configuration manager console and do it again. Okay, so now SUP task, SUP role is, I'm going to install the SUP role, and this time I'm going to be very quick. I'm not going to explain everything. This is a repeated telecast. So 8530, that is the default one. I think I selected that everything else same. uh, Credentials I don't need. Connectivity, synchronization from Microsoft, that's fine. 7 days by default. Okay, as you can see there is a difference, right? Once you configure something in the configuration, that will the default configuration will change, right? So the previous experience was different, right, in terms of default configuration, right? Now it is different, right, because it is storing our default configuration somewhere in the database or somewhere in SCCM, right? That is why it's oh, okay, I got scared. I don't
Anup,
know.
Anup, Anup, Karthik. synchronization source, you need to enable the what's that? The reports for WSUS.
Thank you, Karthik. Oh, I got scared because of your background
Don't
noise.
worry. I'm sitting with my kids. Don't worry.
Thank you, Karthik. Okay, synchronization. I forgot. Okay, no, I didn't forgot. I think this is the
No,
synchronization
the
schedule.
WCS. No, the WCS reporting events on the synchronization source. Go to the synchronization source. Down. One above synchronize. Yeah. Create
Yeah,
only
I
WCS. Yeah.
don't want that.
Okay. Because you said
So yeah,
previously you did.
previously I didn't do that
That's
because
fine.
that was the default one, right? So okay, anyways, thank you, Karthik, for that. Okay, so yeah, thank you. So that's a good note, right? So if you want to have the synchronization reports, then you need to enable this. In this lab, I don't care much. So in your production environment, as Karthik mentioned, probably if you want, it is better to enable it, right? Okay, so let's okay, this is 7 days by default. Now it is coming by default. Previously it was not enabled, right? And this was immediately this was also this is also my previous configuration. So it is taking my previous configurations even though I uninstalled the sup role. Okay, so decline. Yeah, all the previous configurations are taking automatically, right? So that is good stuff, right? So intelligent SCCM is intelligent enough to understand my configurations, right? Okay, download full. Yeah, that's fine. And classification, I only selected software security updates. That got automatically selected. That's cool, right? And Windows 10, it should be there. I don't want anything else. Windows, if I go to Windows 10 is automatically selected, right, by default. That is good. And I don't want anything else. I just want to confirm this. Otherwise, its sync is going to take long time. Oh, come on. I don't want that. Exchange. Uh, I hope this is fine. So I'm going to go ahead with that Windows 10 and English, as I mentioned. Click next, and now SUP log file. It should take a minute or so to come up over here. Probably it will come up, and it came back, right? Our monitoring overview. And if you go to Windows, I'm sorry, software updates point, update point, synchronization status, it is coming up now. Now SUP might have already installed. Okay, it got installed. And register mandatory. This is the same error. Failed to register if Microsoft bin. Okay, that's fine. I think if everything is working, I'm not going to worry about that error. So this is another point, right? So this is the folder which we configured in WSUS, right? So it created a folder structure, update service packages. So if I go inside, nothing is there. WSUS content, anonymous check-in file, right? So that is only one available. If you want to check what is it, it is a blank file, 0 KB. Okay, so these are the things. It is there in the files now, and now I'm going to look at the sources. No, mm, program files configuration. I'm going to look into the log files now. Log files. Now I want to check the WCM first, right? There is WCM, right? WCM first, right? I mentioned about three files: WCM, WSUSSync, WSUS control, and WSync manager, right? So okay, cool. So I think it is fine now. As you can see over here, As I always mention, right, you need to remember the keyword keyword for each log files, right? If you want to note down somewhere, probably you can check some of these things, right? This is one of the interesting entry which you want to note. Successfully configure WSUS server settings and upstream server to Microsoft updates, right? So that is there, and there would be a connectivity thing, right? Supported version found, that is good. Successfully connected to local WSUS server. So this is also uh, a valid entry which you want to look into. So for example, if you want to search it, you have a long very long or a very huge WCM log file. Then if you want to check, then this is the keyword, right? Connectivity and other stuffs like uh, where is it? Connectivity, and I mentioned something else also, right? Categories, version number is also important, right? Let me minimize this. Version number is also important, right? So let me go back to the console. I didn't close that wizard. Let me close that wizard first. Okay, let me go to the, sorry, let me go to the this one, and let me try to check again. The latest synchronization update is not there yet. Okay, we have not synchronized. That's the point. Okay, so this is also interesting, right? Subscription update, catalog version, catalog ID. This is important. You need to check this, and you need to note this down somewhere, right? I'm going to copy this. Let me see whether that is going to help me in some time. Note, let me open a notepad. Bear with me for a minute. Notepad. Okay. Okay, fine. So successfully inserted WSUS interface configuration objects. Okay, fine. Configuration successfully. Fine, fine. Everything is okay. I think so. Over here we kind of seen the issue last time, right? It was not able to connect to the WSU server. Now it got connected successfully. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to open control, right? So control, WSUSCtrl.log, and if I connect, successfully check the database connection on WSU server and looks good. Okay, that's cool, right? Successfully connected. This is another keyword which you want to look into. Failures reported during the periodic health check. This was when? Now we need to look into the time. 1:34. Now 2 o'clock. It's over here, right? Actually 3 o'clock, right? But this is GMT, and we are in BST now. Okay. 3 134. Okay, that can be ignored because that was the previous one. So WSUS. Okay, now sync, right? Sync is the another log file which you want to check and confirm. Okay, now sync is not started. We have not initiated it. This is again 126. That is fine. Now let's do one thing, right? Let's check what is happening in the actual software library. If you go to software updates, and updates, something is there? No, nothing is there, right? Okay, so let me try to sync. Right, so hopefully sync file is open over here, and you can see this is going to go crazy now. Sync, probably, right? And if you look at after the first thing, if you look at the components, right? The components, you would be able to see a lot of new categories will appear over there, right? So something like 1903 and later kind of updates. So sync category, sync WSUS synchronization category. So now it is syncing the categories, right? So this is the log file which you want to look into when you kind of sync every month. You normally sync, right? At least every week you normally sync, right? So this is that particular log file which you want to look into, and normally this is going to take a long time. I don't know how much time it is going to take. First thing probably might finish soon. It depends sometimes, right? Uh, it might not sync. I should not have enabled that Windows 10 also, I think now, because Windows 10 will come up all the previous updates also. I should have enabled only 1906 um, thing. Okay, let me go back and check the now. If you, for example, if you want to kind of change the products, right? Products, if you want to change the products, you need to go to sites and you need to go to configure site components and then select Windows Update Point, right? Over here you would be able to see all the configurations which we did through that wizard, right? Installation wizard of SUP, most of the configurations, right? You can see languages, you can see supersedence rules, you can see sync, right? And alerts if you want, right? You can see that. Products, if you want, you can see that, right? Products, I have uh w's Windows 10. I'm i'm thinking to disable this now. Let I don't know whether it is going to work or not. I just removed that Windows 10 product, right? And let me see whether it is still syncing categories. Okay. So it might have already started, then it might not take effect. uh, Anyways, so yeah, my point was you can change all those things over here, like maximum runtime, WSUS maintenance. Third party application is another beast. I think you might have already heard that. Probably we will cover that in later seasons, right? If you want, I already have like 3 or 4 blog posts about step by step installation and log file reviews about third party updates. Okay, so let me go back over here and see what is happening. It is still kind of stuck there. Hmm. Okay, so now what we can do by the time, I'm thinking what we can do. Monitor. Let me go to monitor and see. The icon has changed now. That is another important thing, and it says syncing, sync synchronizing WSUS server, last synchronization error code, last synchronization attempt, right? So even though you don't have access to uh, the log files, probably you might be able to check over here, right? The catalog version also will come up, and everything will get populated once the sync is done. And our friend WSUS, right? If I don't know whether I have opened it or not. No, I have not opened, but you can see the things in WSUS console itself, right? If you have any trouble in connecting WSUS, probably you need to launch the WSUS console from server manager, and you can check that also. I'm getting impatient over here. Okay, so it is kind of stuck there, and probably it is going to take some time. Let me check the other logs also, right? This is okay, it is all sleeping, right? So let me go back to one of my other servers. So this is other server, other lab, right? This is not related to anything related to the previous lab. This is already kind of set up lab. So I thought like we can kind of kill some time by explaining things over from this lab. That would be more clear. So if I go to software update point over here, you would be able to see this one after the sync, right? After the sync, it should show a green icon, and the catalog version, right? Catalog version, it shows 8. Okay, so at attempt to sync. Okay, this is last attempt to sync and synchronization error, right? Last catalog update. Catalog updates are always very important in troubleshooting, right? You can check whether the client is getting the latest catalog or not, etc., etc. on the client side if you have some client. So after the sync, right? If I can go back to software library, you remember this is a different server and the different lab. So let me go back to sites first. Sites, and let me go back to configuration components and SUP, right? Software update point, where we can change the products. And let me see what are the products I selected in this, right? This list is very huge, right? At the moment, after the first sync, it should get this much huge. So you can see Windows 10, right? And there is somewhere, yeah, these are the two ones, right? I want to enable only these two, at least this one, right? Windows 10 version 1903 or later, because I don't have any previous version, so I don't want to enable this. But that is for my lab, right? I have not done enough R&D to disable this in production environment. So don't do this in your production environment. Don't remove this. But I did that in the other lab, right, which we just built. Okay, but I want to enable only this. But just wanted to show the classifications also, right? Classification, in the classification, you can see I have enabled update, rollup, and upgrades, right? Upgrades, because I already have Windows 10 servicing enabled on this, and I have servicing packages over here, right? So for example, uh, servicing, Windows 10 servicing, right? Over here, if I go over here, uh, there's a good red one. Windows 10 usage, uh, Windows 10 updates. Okay, probably there you can see 2000 2004 2004 updates over here, right? So that is how we get the 2004 updates and Windows 10 updates, or upgrades, I would say, right? To be precise, feature upgrades or upgrades, feature updates, right? It is so confusing. Okay, so that is why I have this one, right? If you have not enabled that, then from the classifications, then you might not see this, right? Updates, only the monthly patches will be available here. So as you can see, this is a monthly patches which is available in my lab. So different lab environment. Let me go back to the previous lab, and let's see what is happening. It is still stuck in the synchronization stage. I don't know why it is taking so much of time. Normally it is 20415. Okay, 20415. It's almost 10 minutes now. Okay, now let me go back here and try to do something over here. Same. So we might need to wait further more. So let me go back to the other lab where I have some updates. Now, once the synchronization is done, right? Once the synchronization is done, the process of software updates, that is what we are going to see here, right? Process of updates, right? Now, we can create a ADR if you want, right? And ADR, there are different scenarios, right? For example, if you want to understand the process, as I mentioned in the client push method installation, if you want to learn how it works from the basics, always do it manually, right? So select an update. For example, if you want to understand it properly, then probably I am going to select 2004. I don't know whether I have any updates. Okay, and says required one, right? So one of my system requires these updates, right? So I'm going to select these these three updates, right? Service stack and Adobe Flash Player update and a 64-bit updates, right? If you want, for example, if I want to update this, right, what we need to do is create a basic thing, right? Create a software update group rather than downloading it directly, right? So this is what normally I do: create a software update group and name it something like useful, right? Windows monthly update, Windows 10 monthly update if you want, right? Monthly update. Um, Probably let's assume I will create software update group for every month, right? So July 2020. Okay, I'm going to select this particular three updates, required updates, and create, okay, a software update group. Now we have a group of those patches, so we can avoid all those other things, right? So basically we have created this one, right? And you can see, oh, okay, you have already this. Now you can see what is there in this, inside this. This is only, this is kind of a group, right? uh, and you have grouped three patches for your Windows 10 device, that is 2004 version of Windows 10 device, okay, as per the requirement column over here. That's right. So requirements is coming from scanning, right? When a scan is run on a client side, it can collect the requirement, which are the patches missing, and it can collect the requirement, right? Scan is run based on the updates or catalog, basically, right? The WSUS catalog version, which we mentioned a couple of times before, right? Based on that. now now what we can do is, basically, you can click on this and deploy it, right? Now once you have software update group, let's deploy it, right? So deploy is basically uh, creating package and downloading content and deploying it. So that is the entire process of deploy, right? So creating a package will come over here, and downloading content of software updates. So this is only metadata, right? As you can see over here, oh, it's already downloaded. Probably this is already downloaded because I'm having a ADR, right? Normally, if I go back here, I want to select anything, for example, right, which is not downloaded, right? So probably I'm going to select anything like, for example, this one, right? Let's select uh, create a software update group with name test. So this is just for testing purpose we are creating. That is why I provided the test. Don't do this in production, um, because I have seen, like, even I have created lot of test deployments in previous scenarios, and I myself get confused, like when I look into the same test groups again after 1 month or 2 months. Probably I might not kind of remember why did I create that test group, right? So now you can see it is not downloaded, right? Now you have two options here. right? You have download option, you have deploy option. So if you click on download, what will happen is it will ask you to create a package, software update package, right? So if you click on, this is one way of doing it. If you want to understand what is package, etc., etc., we can do that, right? So let's do like that, right? For example, right? So this is the actual way. When we started SCCM 2012, right, we always asked people to do in this way. Go to software update group and then create software update group, then go to packages and create new package for sorry, then go to software update group and select that and create new packages for that particular uh, patch, right? And then go to deploy and deploy it, right? So that probably we can follow the same thing over here, right? So I'm going to create a new package. That is my recommended way of doing it, monthly patches, because if you accumulate lot of packages into same thing, right? For example, if you are creating Windows 10 package for entire year, then you might end up deploying some 4 GB or 5 GB or more than that of the package, right? So that is going to create a lot of problems for your environment if you have like hundreds of remote distribution points. Even though the delta discovery or sorry, not delta discovery, right? binary differential replication is enabled. For example, if you want to kind of install a new DP, right, in a remote office where you don't have a proper internet connection, or you don't have a proper WAN connection, then you are dead, right? Because you have 4 GB of a software update package, right? Might be deploy, you need to deploy that to that particular DP. So that is not ideal from my perspective, but it depends entirely on your organization, right? If how you want to manage and what is the best solution for you. Okay, but my recommendation, if you ask me, my recommendation, it would be kind of installing on a what you call installing on a um, what I was trying to say, okay, creating packages, every package, new packages for monthly updates. Okay, but you need to remember that it is always recommended to delete the previous or old packages which has supersedence updates and etc etc, right? So you need to have a process in place for that also, right? Then only the SCCM or configuration manager performance will be best, right? Okay, so I'm going to create a package. I don't want to create a test package now. I want to put a good name. So let's see, HTMD um, software update package for demo. Okay, so I'm going to use that as a description also. Now this is UNC path, no, right? You cannot use any other path, like direct browse, and you cannot go to C drive and provide any path over there, right? So this should be a UNC path. Okay, so I need to find out my UNC path now for this server. You need to remember this is a different server altogether, right? This is not my previous server which I kind of used. So I have a source folder. So this is another recommended way, and probably you would be able to see some updates folder over here, Windows 10. If I go servicing, so this is the servicing. Probably I will create a monthly patches folder over here, right? Monthly patches, this is also very important, right, to have a proper folder structure for your monthly patches, right? Otherwise you will be searching, right, where should I copy every package, where should I create, and you can be specific over here, like security updates or something like that. So I'm going to say this is probably I don't know. This was I don't know 15, the old one, right? So probably I will say this is old package, old package. Normally, what I do is if I want to deploy a package and now monthly software update, then I will say like to this month, right? Probably July 2020, right? So this is a normal way I normally do if you ask me how what is the best practice. But in this scenario, I'm going to use old package because I want to delete this package after the demo, right? So done. UNC path provided, right? If I say C over here, right? C dollar, sorry, C colon, then it might say no, it's not allowed. Only UNC path is recommended, right? So UNC path next, and DP, add your DP, which DP you want to distribute, right? Click OK and click next. This is the another configuration. I normally select automatically download the content when packages are sent to distribution point, right? And I don't know why this is the default option. Okay. So I I don't change normally this one, distribution priority, um, but you have option to make it low priority or high priority, right? Okay, so next, download location. I am downloading it directly from internet, right? That is the option, you other the default option, and I normally do that way. If you have a proxy connectivity from your SCCM server, right, that is the best way to do. And the next option is download software update from local local network, right? So if you have already download, keep the file somewhere, and you want to use that rather than using directly internet to download, because of some security reason, you can use that, right? Okay, now let's click next and select the language, right? Yeah, obviously I want only the English, and if you want to change, you can do that from here, right? Edit, click on edit and select. Okay, and next, you confirm whether everything is correct. You mentioned everything okay. So obviously we are deploying 1507. That is a way out of support, right? You should not do that. So but for this demo we are kind of doing it now. We started the processing. So now what is happening is, if you look at the package, you would be able to see the package content is getting downloaded now, right? So if you see that the content will get downloaded, and if you want to quickly see the log files, right? So if I can go to temp folder of this particular user, right, you would be able to see patch downloader, right? hmm. This is 74224 7. Okay, this is the latest one. Let me open this patch downloader and it will tell you what is going on now. Okay, so it is it is contacting the WSUS download internet, and it is saying okay, 70 percentage completed. It says download return 90 percentage completed, and it's almost completed. I think it should be shown somewhere in the folder now. Where is the folder? Let me check that. It is not moved to the folder yet, I think. Verifying it. Yeah, it is still verifying. So it is in the temp folder. Once the verification is completed, it should move automatically to the folder, this particular folder, right? Let me go back and see.
Hello? Hello?
I'm not able to hear you. There is a lot of background noise.
Can you explain the download process? What's happening in the background? What
So
it
download
verifies?
download process is basically it is downloading it from WSUS, right? Yeah, sorry, it is downloading it from internet, Microsoft updates. Okay, so that is what we you can see over here. See, so this is where it is downloading the um, content. So this is the URL it used to download the content, right? So it says content source, right? So if you look at the log file, right, you can see it is trying to contact the WMI and trying to connect to the WMI, and then it is setting the download location, right? Download location is our server location, right? So now content source, right? Content source is from where you are downloading, right? So content source is this location. So from we have not configured anything. This is all automatically happened, right? This is the intelligence of WSUS. WSUS know how to which is the URL for Windows updates, right? From where you can get the cap files. Okay, so it is configuring that it's already configured, right? And it is contacting that particular location, right? So it is 2017-07, right? And this particular KB, so they have a proper structured URL there. So it is contacting that, it is querying something. I don't know what is this, I need to find out. Query to run, it is querying against the uh, WSUS, I think Microsoft updates, okay, and downloading the content, and it's collecting the content ID, and the file name would be this one, right? And this is the download process. So we are kind of instructing WSUS to do the work for us. So WSUS is doing the work for us. It is not SCCM actually downloading the content, right? So WSUS is contacting the Microsoft updates, and Microsoft update is providing us the content, and then after downloading, it is verifying the hash values, whether somebody processed um, this content during the download, somebody put some extra files into it or not, right? It is checking all those security checks after the download. So that is what happening here. See, hash file, verifying the hash file, everything, right? And then once that is done, it will move the file to our location. Now you would be able to see the file over here, right, in this folder, source, our location. So cap file is ready now. Okay, now we have the cap file. Now the download process is completed, and our wizard will say it is completed, right? And it will, we can close this. Okay, so if you have any problem with the download, this is the file which you want to look into. This would be in your temp location, user profile, right? In your user profile, from where your probably console is running, probably, right? Okay, so that is it. Let me go back to our previous previous lab. This is a previous lab, just to remind you. Sent to succeeded. This is when we started this. Okay, give me a sec. Where we left? Okay, we left somewhere here, I think. Synchronization database, I think this is where we left, and we started another thing. Wait a minute, no, not that place. This is the first lab, right? Sorry, this is the lab which we had problems before. This is yeah, 126 we had a problem, and inbox log, synchronization local. Okay, found one SUP. This is one thing, this is interesting, right? You need to remember this, found one SUP. So sorry for switching in between the labs. So I don't want to waste time actually, so that is why I was showing over there. Next, give me a sec. Let me
Hi.
understand. Okay, so
Hi.
WSUS synchronization, synchronizing categories and synchronizing catalogs. Now it says 100% synchronized, right? And let me see content source version. Everything is here. It shows the port also. We configured 8530 to contact the client. So basically the port which we configured is for the client to SUP communication, right? This is nothing to do with is WSUS and Microsoft communication, Microsoft update communication. Okay, so that is another important point which I missed previously. So as you can see, categories processed 363 categories processed now, right? And that means additional 365 366 sorry see 363 categories added. Probably you would be able to see that. Now if I go back to here, done indexing. Okay, indexing is a good thing. And resetting successfully completed, right? So this, I'm trying to find that successfully completed sync started synchronization, done synchronizing. Okay, so this is another keyword which you want to look into, right? Done synchronizing success with WSUS server. Okay, and let me think. Okay, now let's go back to the console and see whether we have some updates over here or not, right? Oh, okay, so now you can see catalog version is 0. Okay, fine. The updates, everything is populated. This is the new lab which we set up. Now let me go back to software updates, right? Software updates, and see there's nothing. Okay, yeah, this is expected, right? Nothing kind of uh, issue here, right? So if I go back to administration, and what I want to show is probably there would be lot of other categories, right? Probably a lot of other categories came up. If I go back, products basically, right? So uh, classification is same, we are not going to change that. Products, probably you are able to see lot of stuff now, right? Lot of stuff. Windows 10 um 1903 version later was not there before. I think now it should be there, right? This is the one, 1903 later. See, 1903 later, this is the one now available. So a lot of updates happened, right? Nothing is selected. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to click OK. Now what you can see, if you notice, probably you would be able to see in the log file, right? In I forgot where it is exactly, right? Right in WCM, or yeah. So in WCM, it can see something is changed, right, in the configuration. Setting new configuration state to 4. Okay, that is latest, right? So we selected one category, right? Sorry, product, right? So that is the one change which we want to check, and it would be available in WSUS sync also. So now what we need to do to sync that updates and to get some updates over here in our portal, right? Sorry, console. Um, Over here, we need to update it again. Sorry, sync it again, right? So this is going to take another, I don't know, probably 20 minutes or more than that, right? So we will see that. Okay, now the sync is started. We will see that what is going to happen, right? And it is starting the synchronization, WSUS synchronizing the categories. Right? So categories are getting synchronized, and probably the updates will appear over there after the synchronization. WSUS synchronizing the updates. Okay, now if I check this keyword, right, for the above, right? There is nothing, right? Because it never synchronized the updates. So this is the first time it is synchronizing the updates. After synchronizing the update, it will show up here if if it is going to find something, right? If it is finding something, probably it will show up here. Now, so that is why this is also an important keyword, right? WSUS synchronizing updates. Category is a different one. Probably category is a different kind of confusing sometimes, right? Categories. If you go to sites over here and if you see software update point, classification products. These are the things over there, right? There's no categories, right? Basically, from WSUP, I'm assuming, right? I have not seen any documentation about it, but I am assuming that the products is basically categories, right? In the log files, you see categories, right? That is probably product category. Okay, so that is it. I think I think I have clicked OK. I don't remember whether I clicked OK or not. Uh, okay, updates is selected. This one is selected. I clicked apply, but I didn't click OK. I think I don't know how this is going to work out now. Updates. Okay, it says 5% completed. ETA is 17 minutes, right? It is going to take another 17 minutes to sync everything, right? So until that time, probably we can quickly see what has happened over there, right? Now let me go back to monitoring, right? Monitoring and see again sync started and the icon change. So this is another interesting tip if you are interested to know, right? So when sync is running, this icon will get changed, right? Okay, once sync is completed successfully, it will turn green, otherwise it will turn red, right? Okay, so um, now let's go back. Sorry, this is WCM. WCM is not the one which we want to look into. Now it says 15 and 10 minutes. Okay, now let's go back to the previous lab, right? Okay, now we make sure the cap file is downloaded and updated over here, right? It is over here. Now you can see the cap file in the old package. Okay, now let's see, check this one. Now you still can't see the download, right? Probably that is going to take a refresh, right? If I go back here and come back, it says now yes. Okay, so it is not automatically refreshed, so you need to kind of go back to some other node and see. Okay, so it says download. Now we have completed two steps, right? One is download, sorry, yeah, two steps we have completed. One is creating software update group. We have created software update group. That is the first step. If you want to learn, don't directly go into creating ADRs, right? ADR will do it for you automatically, but you might not understand the concept behind it. So basically we are creating a software update group, and software update group is a grouping of updates, right? As you can see, test, this is the group which we created for this demo, right? I'm not liking, somehow not liking the name, right? Probably HTMD, I will say HTMD, um, monthly updates test. I'm sorry, not test, demo. Okay, so yeah, don't worry about that. So that's me. Okay, so let me close this and create one folder. No. Okay, anyways, so that is software update group. software update group is that after that what we did is we created package, software update package, and now you can see the deployment package in that particular package inside deployment updates. So as you can see, this is the demo package which we created, right? And that is created by clicking on download package, right? Sorry, download option from software update group. Right now you can deploy this, you can deploy from software update group. So if I go back to software update group, and if I select the demo software update package, sorry, group, then if I select deploy, it will come up with a deployment page, right? Wizard, basically HTMD demo. Okay, so let me copy this and put it in the description. And update group is already selected. If you have a template, you can create different templates. If you want, you can use that, and if you have, you can use that. But if you are doing it for the first time, probably it's not recommended to use it. Let's understand the concept first, right? And then create a template later. Okay, so now it's time to collect selection. I'm sorry, select collection. Okay, now by default it's coming into device collection, so it is recommended way, right? It is not going into user collection, and it is not available at all, right? So select the collection. So I'm going to select my custom collection, all right? And always recommended to use some pilot collection if you are using it for the first time, right? If you are deploying it for the first time. Okay, type of deployment. If you can see required, always patches required, I always go with the default option, right? Success and error, always the detail level, keep it as default, right? uh, this is basic things, right? If you have a configured application deployment, you might have already seen this. Local, always select the default, because as I mentioned also, this is all very I don't know, this is not just created like that as default, right? This is the best practice from Microsoft side, right? So client local time, select that, right? So it will automatically take the local time of the client after 5 p.m. or after 9 p.m., after office hours, etc., etc., right? As soon as possible, this is available, right? So this will be available as soon as possible. This is not going to install, right? This setting means doesn't mean it will install automatically at this as soon as possible, right? This is making the update available for the machine, right? In the machine, right? So you don't need to worry much about this option if you are configuring it properly, right? The other option is installation deadline. This is the option which you need to be very careful, right? That is why available is as soon as possible by default, right? And in deadline, they have mentioned a time frame or timeline, right? Today is 7, today is what, 7, right? So it is far, it is kind of a I don't know, June 11 today. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, give me a sec. 11 is next Saturday. Oh, that is intelligent enough, right? So next, it is selecting automatically next Saturday. So it is for not causing any accidental scheduling issues, right? So if you are okay with this schedule next Saturday, that is fine. Then the this make this settings, right? Software available time, that will make the patches available on the machine on as soon as possible, right? As soon as the update is created, like this deployment is created and the client is synced with management point or SCCM, right? Once the client gets a new policy, it this updates will be available, this patch will be available on the system, but it will start the installation only during this time frame. If the maintenance window, everything falls under, then only it will kind of install, otherwise it won't install, right? Even though you specify this, right? So this is the deadline, and you can see the what is the description over here, and it's clearly mentioned over there, right? Delay enforcement of this deployment according to user preferences up to grace period, sorry, up to the grace period defined in client settings. So yeah, obviously grace period, if you have defined grace periods, like for example, if you have given user 2 days of time after the deadline to install and restart the PC, then it will give that time frame for the users, right? And so that is something you can configure in the client settings, right? Okay, so this is the deadline. You should be very careful about that. If you are not, say, especially if you are not using maintenance window or something on the client side, then you should be very careful about this. Otherwise, that can cause a lot of accidental deployments and kind of restarts, unexpected restarts at the user side. That might create a lot of issues. Okay, so we are overrunning. So I'm sorry for that. Probably I will finish off this with this. Okay, and click next. This is user experience, right? Display in software sender and show all notification. It is up to you and your organization. Display in software sender, you should not display, or you should display. Sometimes it is useful for users, and there are some users they might go and install it, probably IT users, right? But not others. And display in software sender, and only only show notification for computer restart. This is very useful, right? Only computer restarts, then only the notification should be there. So this is useful option, right? Hide in software sender and all the notification. So this won't show nothing, like no notification shown in this scenario, right? So I normally go with the default one, as I mentioned. But if you have a specific scenario, um, if you want to show only computer restart notification to the users, then you can select that. Okay, it's entirely up to your organization and your agreement with your client, right? Okay, so that is the behavior, user experience, notification behavior, right? Okay, deadline behavior. When the installation deadline is reached, allow the following activities to be performed outside the maintenance window. So if you are outside the maintenance window, then software installation should not proceed, right? Then there's no point of maintenance window at all, right? That is why by default this is not selected, right? So system restart outside maintenance window, if that is okay with you, outside maintenance window, if you want to kind of restart or uh, software install software updates, then you can enable this. I'm not going to do that. I don't recommend to do that, right? That fails the purpose of maintenance window in my opinion, right? But there could be some special scenarios in this. I'm not able to recollect those scenarios, but that might be helpful, right? Okay, device restart behavior. This is also maintenance window, probably, right? Um, some software update required system restarts complete the installation process. You can suppress the restart on servers and workstation. Suppress the system restart on the following devices, servers and workstation. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of hard reboot or something after the patch installation. If you don't want your servers, if you are for example patching the servers, you don't want this to happen, the forced restart. Probably you are comfortable doing a manual restart by an admin, so that they can kind of verify whether everything is working after the restart, right? If it's business critical servers or something like that. Okay, so Right, filtering, handling to embedded devices. Okay, that's fine. I don't worry much about this actually. Software update, deployment, reevaluation, behavior upon the restart. Yeah, sometimes this is kind of helpful, um, to have proper reporting of your patches, right? So probably after the after the patching, proper reporting, and if you are kind of stuck with SSU updates, stack updates, right? Then this sometimes it is kind of useful, but by default it is not selected. So probably in your experience, if you have seen some of the issues with this, and if you find a solution after updating, sorry, after um, sorry, what is that, software update, deployment, reevaluation, after reevaluating from the client side, then probably this is kind of something helpful for your environment. Okay, so next, and alerts. Right, this is alerts, and you can see this is sometimes very useful in some of the organizations, but I have not seen many organizations using it. Probably some of the better management organizations are using it. Okay, uh, so but this is again creating alert based on the percentage, and based on the percentage of success, and it will alert you. And if you have a kind of a subscription option and SMTP configured, you will get an email alert also, right? Okay, so that is the alert one. I'm not going to do that for here, right? Probably we can do that later stage, right? Now click next. This is kind of download, right? So boundary group. I had an interesting discussion in Facebook group regarding this. I want to keep it as it is. Do not install software updates. So people will get confused. What does this do not install software update? We are deploying software update, and you are configuring do not install software update. Yes, basically it says if your local DP is not available, right? If the update is not available in your local DP, do you want to fall back to a network bound, neighboring boundary group? And probably that neighboring boundary group is associated with a DP on a different location, or at the end of another WAN connection, right? So that might create lot of bandwidth issues in your net organization. If you are worried about that, if you are pretty much comfortable, you don't worry about bandwidth at all within your organization, within all DPs, probably you can select this one, right? You don't have any issues with that. Okay, so that should not be a problem at all. So that is the option for this, but I always go with this one. I fix the DP issue first, then I will get the updates installed, right? That is my way of doing things. I don't know whether you agree with that. It's your team's decision, right? Okay, but best recommended way, I would say this, to avoid network bandwidth issues, etc., etc. Client will go to another DP and download, etc., etc., right? Over the WAN. So when software updates are not available on any distribution point in the um, current or neighbor boundary group, client can download and install updates from software update software sorry, DP in a site default boundary. This is very dangerous. I I I don't do that, right? I normally select this, right? Um, Default. If you want to select this one, yeah, probably you can do that. But again, you need to remember that this might go into WAN connection and all, right? Okay, so that remembered something, and I think in ADR blog I didn't change this. That is interesting. I need to change this. Okay, okay. Client can. download. Okay, that's fine. Software updates not available in distribution point. Okay, this is interesting, right? If your internet connection is better than your WAN connection in on a remote DP to reach the remote DP from client side, especially in a COVID situation, right? Probably this is useful, right? This will directly go to Microsoft updates and download the content. Okay, and allow clients a metered connection. So if you are using some metered connection like mobile Wi-Fi or something, probably to from a client Windows 10 device, then it might you can allow this. Otherwise, it won't go to that, right? Okay, so that is the download settings. Summary is same. You need to kind of look into it carefully in if you are doing it in a production. And important thing, right? Here you can create a template, save template, right? Here you can select all my deployment options, the best practices which I mentioned as per my experience, right? And you can browse, and probably you can create a template, right? At the moment I don't have any template available, so I'm going to create a new template, HTMD demo template, right? So now every time when you create patches, you don't need deployments, you don't need to create you don't need to configure all these things, right? That is safety. For safety, probably that would be good, right? You don't if you don't we can avoid the human errors, right? Okay, so now click next. We have created templates. You know how to create templates now, right? Now you can see the deployment is going to my devices, right? So this deployment will go to devices, and it will check the complaincy of the devices. It will scan and check whether this particular KB is required or not. In this case, it's not required. My system is 2004 system, and we deployed in 1507 update, I think, right? So let's let's go back to our previous thing, and it says still 5 minutes, 5 minutes ETA. So we will continue this tomorrow, right? And we will continue from the point where we left, so it will be completed by then. And probably it will show up something over here in the software update, all software updates. So today we have learned so many things. We almost reached. I've been speaking for continuously for 2.5 hours now. I don't know. My sound is almost gone. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Let me drink some water while you are getting ready for the questions. I can only hear the
Hello.
background noise.
Yeah. Hello.
Two of
Hello.
you, two of you are speaking. Okay, one at a time, please. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Hi, Gunam.
Hey, Karim.
Yeah. Microsoft Cloud Services. Which agent you connect, like WCS or SUP?
So Microsoft Cloud Services, which agent for downloading the content or downloading the metadata?
Metadata or cloud
Both,
metadata. Metadata.
both
Yeah. Correct.
metadata
Metadata
is
or
okay.
yeah.
Fine. Let me answer that. Okay. So this
Yeah.
is the metadata, right? This is metadata, right? This is only the details of the patches, right? If you go to the properties, you would be able to see. Let me minimize this. If you go to the properties, you would be able to see this minimum runtime. This is the metadata, right? And this is WSUS connecting to Microsoft updates and downloading it and bringing back to SCCM console. So everything is WSUS. SCCM is just a front end, I would say.
So in
Okay.
server side, in server side, Windows Update agent, which purpose like you connect
It's the client side,
updates?
right? That's a client side, right? So, for example, right, if you have a client, a Windows 10 client or Windows 10 server, I'm sorry, Windows 2016 server, for example, okay, and you are deploying patches to those servers or those Windows 10 devices, then what you are doing is that is a client side process, right? So, SCCM is deploying patches to that particular client. Once the patch is deployed and reached the Windows 10 client, then SCCM policy will get received, and SCCM client will analyze the policy. Okay, and SCCM client will find the location of the updates, basically the KB files and all the required patch files. Okay, then the SCM agent will hand over the task to WUA agent. So that is Windows Update agent, right? From there, WUA agent will take over and try to install the packages. Sorry, updates. So that is the client side process. So today we have seen the server side process. Okay, so server side, WSUS
Yes,
is
correct.
contacting Microsoft updates and downloading the patches and also downloading the metadata. But the the client side process is different. As I mentioned, it will try to get SCCM client will get the policies from SCCM server, because SCCM is deploying the patches, right? So SCCM client will get the patches, and SCCM client will process those policies for the patch installation, and it will try to find out the DP location, SUP, and from SUP it will get the catalog details, right? Which are the files deployed? Sorry, which are the updates it got deployed to the Windows 10 device or server 2016 in my example, right? And then it will hand over to Windows Update Agent. And then Windows Update Agent will take over the installation, and Windows Update Agent will install the patches on the device. And once the installation is completed successfully, Windows Update Agent will report back to SCCM client stating, okay, my work is done. Okay, now you take over and you take the reporting back to your SCCM server. So that is the process. Is that clear?
So for yeah, clear. So for example, Windows Update agent is corrupted. So
Yeah,
that case,
then we need to repair that, right? There's no other option.
yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Alok.
No, no worries.
Okay. Hi, no.
Hey.
Yeah. So I have one query regarding of the download the updates. Let's say example, there is a one site server. There is a one primary site, and I have the jump server. So I connect my SSM console to the jump server, and through the jump server I create the SUG and try to download the security patches to the repository server.
Mhm.
So when I trigger a download, so on that time, what happened when I trigger the download, so my download going to be stuck. So I just wanted to know, while going to be download the security patches, on that time the internet going to be utilized or going to be connect the Microsoft site. So they going to be connect from the my main primary site to SCCM site, or they trying to trigger from the they try to utilize from the jump server internet.
So So that I'm not sure about that. I think
Mhm.
it is from the SCCM server itself, where you
Mhm.
have opened the the ports and all, right? So I think I need to look into the log files, then only I will remember it. I don't want to give any wrong answers over here, but I don't
Okay.
remember. My assumption is it
Mhm.
should be from your jump server. Probably you can look
Mhm.
into the patch downloader log and you will come to know what is happening over there, right? I
Ye-
don't know exactly. I don't know whether anybody else in the call is aware of that. If they
Okay.
can confirm it.
Okay. So actually, I tested in my production environment what happened when I can go and download the patches from the my primary site. So it's not going to be download. It's saying something block. And even I do the jump server, I'm getting a same error message. But when I have the one test machine, test physical devices where there is no firewall rule applied, and I connect that device to my mobile hotspot or the open internet, and when I connect the console and trying to download it going to be download from my public internet, and they using the internet, and then there is no issue in the downloading. So I just confused, like even though my console or my primary site installed on the main primary server, so for that they are not using the internet bandwidth to connect the Microsoft getting download. It's just using my the where I'm getting connect the console.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that is why
Mhm.
that makes
Mhm.
sense, right? That makes sense because the even the patch downloaded log, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It is sitting in your local profile, user
Mhm.
profile, right?
Mhm.
So I think everything is kind of initiated from your local profile because it's initiated from the your console, right? So that is basic design, I feel, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't know. Is there any way to change that? I don't think so, but
Mhm.
I'm not
Mhm.
aware of any ways. I never used any other way to
Mhm.
download this. What I normally do is I create a ADR, right? So
Mhm.
ADR will run automatically on the server side, so you don't
Mhm.
need to worry about that. So basically, your server should have a internet access, right?
Okay.
The primary
Okay.
server should have a internet access, and if you are using an enterprise proxy, you should have a whitelisting of the primary
Mhm.
server over there, right? If you have not
Mhm.
opened the ports through the so first thing is you need to have a connectivity between your primary server and proxy server, right? That
Mhm.
firewall ports should be open, right? For example, if your proxy is using 8080, you should be able to do a telnet from your primary server, right?
Mhm.
Or your
Yes.
jump server, right?
Mhm.
To the
Mhm.
proxy, right?
Okay.
Telnet proxy, and if that is returning fine, then the connectivity is there. Then the next part is authentication, right?
Mhm.
Proxy normally use some authentication, right? So
Yeah.
if that is based on the user ID, then probably you might need to provide your user ID and password, right? that
Okay.
will that will be going through that authentication. Otherwise, if it's kind of based on the whitelisting, then you need to provide your server host
Mhm.
name to the proxy team. Then proxy team will whitelist that server. Then all the communication related to Microsoft updates, if you provide those details to them, they will
Mhm.
whitelist that. That might resolve your issue. That is what my recommendation would be.
Yes, yes, I got it. Yep. Got it. Thank you.
Anup, one question on the client side configuration. Is there best practice to disable this Windows updates? Because earlier I used to do to avoid conflict with group policy or something. I don't recollect.
Yeah,
Because SCCM take over those policies, right?
I'm not kind of very expert in group policy settings. I normally always share the blog post from Jason Sandys, right? There's a great blog post from him. He provides the best option to disable the group policies for if you are using SCCM patching scenarios, right? So I will add that post into the description of the video, so probably
Okay,
you can refer to that, right? I don't want to give any wrong information.
no problem. And one more question on the delivery optimization. I think this patching also can benefit from that. Or where are the settings? I didn't. I think I would see that, but
Delivery
delivery
optimization. I don't know whether it is available for WSUS patching or not, but obviously it is available for Windows Update for Business in Tune scenarios. It is obviously there. I kind of done that, but in WSUS scenario, probably I don't. I'm not sure. Probably it's something to do with peer-to-peer caching and all the other stuff, right? Which you need to look into. Probably not directly a delivery optimization or peer-to-peer caching along with delivery optimization, which you need to look into. I'm not so sure about that.
okay.
Any other questions? Last one or two questions.
Yeah, no.
Hey Balaji, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a scenario question. Actually, I'm facing in my SCCM environment, customer environment.
Hmm?
Actually, the question was from client side. How the client scans the patches from SCCM server. Actually, I'm facing one scenario here. Um, for 2016 servers patching. If the
Mm-hmm.
previous month patches was in pending restart, we are
Uh-huh.
putting patches for the next month. It was directly going to complaints. How it validating it's going in compliance? I'm not sure about that evaluation of the system.
It is basically a bit complex, right? So the first thing is basically based on the version, right? As you can see on the screen, version of the catalog, right? So you need to make sure the catalog version is up to date, okay, on your remote SUPs and all, right? So that you can find out over here. Sorry, in monitoring. Sorry, software updates, right over here you would be able to see the catalog version, right? So you would need to have the latest catalog version available on the client side also. The other interesting fact over there in that kind of a scenario, I have seen this many times before, right? In that scenario is if you go to properties of a particular patch, you would be able to see some options over here, content information. Some some options are here, but um, it is basically difficult to understand like why it is kind of not showing. And if you kind of do some mbsa, or I don't know what is the tool, some scanning tool. If you use some scanning tool, it will show us, okay, it is required, but SCCM will say, okay, it is not required, right? It is not, or it's already complained or something like that. I have
Yeah,
seen that.
yes, we are facing like that only,
Yeah,
like
i
the
i,
same
I
scenario.
yeah, I
In
have seen.
even I digged in WMA also. The
Yeah.
policy was scanned by the machine. After
uh,
that, the deployment status was going complaints without installing it.
Yeah, that is actually the properties of this patch, right? Properties of the particular patch is doing something, and it is not able to recognize that. So what I normally do is basically I raise a ticket with Microsoft in that kind of a scenario. If you are facing it for many servers, right? For example, 10 servers, if you are facing it, right? So it is not kind of issue, one of issue with one particular client, right? So in that scenario, and servers, we we cannot do a lot of R&Ds, right, with WMI and all. We can do lot of workarounds with the WMI, and we can do a lot of R&D, and we can try to fix it. But my recommendation, uh, if you are not aware what you are exactly doing, you should not do it, at least on the servers, right? So my recommendation would be to raise a advisory case or something with Microsoft, and let's get an expert opinion taking the remote control of that your server or something, right, or client or something. So that is the best approach. because there is no, this is very complex kind of a scenario. I have seen this is very useful when you have SCUP servers, right? I don't know, you know about SCUP servers, right? In SCUP servers, right, you have for the third party patches you have lot of options. If you go to the properties, right, you will get lot of options where you will have conditions also, right? In conditions you will say, oh, if this condition is true, your patch results will be complained or something like that. So that is the property settings. But in the WSUS scenario, non-SCUP scenario, for the default Microsoft updates, those are kind of disabled. Those are not shown in the tabs over here, those conditions and all, right? So I think there are a lot. This is very old kind of an issue. I've been seeing this issue since like I would say 12 years, last 12 years or so. So there's no improvement in that actually. So unfortunately, I don't have any direct answer to that.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
No worries. Okay, last question. If you have any, otherwise, I'll speak to you tomorrow. We'll continue, and let's do this tomorrow, and that will be the last session for this season, and we will um, start the season 3 of weekend learning soon, after probably 1 or 2 weeks break. So thank you all for joining in today, and I'll speak to you tomorrow, same time, same place. Please don't ask me for the meeting invites. It's already with you. Okay. Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.